What's up guys, it's your boy Carbell and welcome back to my channel. Okay guys, now with all the HTML needed for this website, this website already done. We coded all the HTML done. Let me make it bigger. Done. The next thing to do is to add our CSS to transform this ugly looking HTML website here into this fantabulous and amazing website we see right here. So in this video we're going to be looking at all the CSS we need probably to just transform this ugly HTML looking site into this amazing thing or work of art and work of beauty that we see here. Without much ado guys, let's just jump right into the video. Okay guys, if this is the first time you are meeting, my name is Carbell, and on this channel you get all the videos and the tips and the tricks and all the things you need just to make your front end game or your website design game just interesting, fun and amazing. So if you are anyone who wants to learn CSS, HTML, JavaScript, or you want to level up your skills as a web developer, please consider subscribing to this channel because I bring good videos like this and every Wednesday. Alright, so let's continue guys, and without much ado, let's just jump right here. Okay, so let me minimize this. Alright, and let's just go back to our text editor. We already have it here. Control B to bring the sidebar back. Okay, and I'll click here to create a new file, and I'm going to call this file style.css. Alright, it's already open somewhere here. Now you can't use that if you've not linked it, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to create what link. I'm going to link it to what my style.css, save it, and then let's go. Alright, so just make sure that whatever we have linked is working. Let me just say probably HTML and say background color of red, and you can see it's already what linked. So let me just clear everything and save it again. And the very first thing we are going to do whenever we are going to start our project is reset everything. Automatically you can see that there's some little spaces around all the items. Like look at this, there's some margin and some padding around everything. So what we're supposed to do is just reset everything. Okay, so we use the universal CSS selector, which happens to be this asterisk here, and then if you're going to use any pseudo element, which I'll explain probably later in the video, so let me just say before, and then also this after. Now the thing is that I'm actually using comma after any of them because I want to apply the same styles to all these three things. So I'm going to use a comma after each of them, just like as you can see I've done in the video. I'm going to say a margin of 0 pixels, or just say 0, whatever it is, and then a padding also of 0 here, and then I'm going to set box sizing. I'll explain box sizing probably later in another video because I think for another just have it that this box sizing is supposed to set at border box. And let me just pay attention here. Whenever I just save, pay attention what happens in the browser. When I just save, boom, all the padding and the margin is taken away from everything. So there is no padding, there is no margin, and that's step number 1. Step number 2 is you're going to go to our HTML, and then we're going to have our height set to 100%. Yeah, probably not needed, but let me just do it. Our weight set to also 100%, and then let me just save that, and then nothing actually happens though. Let's go to the next thing. That's the body. I'm going to start the body, so let's just say a weight of 100%, and then a height of also 100%, and then let's say font family. What font family we want? We only use a font family, one of my favorites now. We call it Poppins. Poppins, and then our fallback font should be sans serif. That means we want our first font family to be Poppins, but in case there is no Poppins in there, then should have our sans serif. So let me just save that, and probably can some changes that just occurred in here. Alright, the Poppins is a great font. I like it. Actually love it. Not like it. I love it. Alright guys, then let's continue. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set our line height. Sometimes from like Microsoft Word or something, line height of 1.5, and then so that the spacing is neatly. You saw what happened for this one. And then let's go to the font weight. I want all my font weight to be 400. I don't know how to call that. Is that one bold, light, or 400? And the next thing I'm going to do is change my color. the color of every text there should be some, I don't know the name of this color, but it's 301 F00. Save it, and you can see the color just became something. Right. You don't really see it because it's also very dark, just like the black. And the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to have all my anchor. I'm going to select all my anchor tags. That's A. Okay, you can see automatically all anchor tags come with what? A text and underline thing here, and I don't want that on any of this. I'm going to say text decoration of what? None for all my what? Anchor tags. Automatically all vanishes. And the next thing I'm going to select is I'm going to select all images. So IMG, all images, and I want to say all images should be a weight of 100%. That means they should never extend past a container. All right. So as you can see before that, let me just comment this, and you can press Ctrl and / to comment this and save it. As you can see before that, the image was automatically what? 100% of its weight. That's its weight. I mean the weight of the image itself. But upon bringing this here, that's Ctrl. Now it can only take a weight of 100% of whichever container it finds itself in. As in this case, it's the body has a weight of what? 100%. So that's the container is actually adjusting itself to in this case. Alright, so that's the first thing I do. And the last thing I'm going to add is I'm going to say for all my unordered list, I want a list style of none. So there should be no bullet point. I don't see any bullet points. That's the very first thing I do. I just reset everything, and that's step one for me. I don't know about how you guys go about what you do. Then Control B to add my sidebar, and then let's get down into it. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my container. So I actually talked about container in here, and I said I was going to explain why I'm using container. So this is the container. As you can see, this is the container here. So the container, what I'm going to do is that, imagine I come to full screen here. As you can see, the container, well, it looks kind of what ugly because all the text I was hugging, no matter the weight of the your device, it's just going to hug all the weight. But I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to use the container to control that by saying that the container should have a weight of what? 100%. Very good. But the max weight, it should only have a max weight of what? 1200 pixels. That means anything more than 1200 pixels, it shouldn't what? Extend past that. Meaning anything above 1200 pixels, it shouldn't what? Extend past that. Have I said I've saved it? Now let's look at something. So as you can see, nothing is probably happening. Let me show you why nothing is happening. So it should have a maximum weight of what? 1200 what? Pixels. And then the last thing I'm going to say is I'm going to give it what? A margin. What did I just type? Margin of what? Oh, I'll explain what the margin is for very soon. Now let's come here. Let's go back to our big screen. Okay, nothing seems to have happened, and that's okay. Could something be the problem? Okay, this is the home page. So this is the about. As you can see, the about page is what nicely centered. I think we didn't get some in the. Let's go back to our HTML. About has a container. Okay, yeah, we didn't have our container in here, so you see that's the thing container. So we don't just say container, and let's copy whatever is. So if I just click this one here, just to know where I'm starting from and ending from. So anything else in here, Control S, cut it, Control L, delete that line, and then Control V, save it. And then the next one, newsletter, also has a container. As you can see, the container right here. And section contact also has. Okay, we didn't spread the container here, and that's why it wasn't actually taking effect. And let's get back. As you can see, everything is what? Nicely what? It's not grow past what? 1200 what? Pixels. But look at something. What if I came back here and I took away the margin auto? That's realize that it's still the same. It doesn't go past the 1200 pixels, but yes, still it has what shifted to the left side, and all this space is here. By setting it to margin auto, that's one of the CSS tricks. Whenever you have anything less than 100% of the parent container, you could use margin auto to make it what centered, and that's simple. That just centered everything for me neatly here. But if it comes to a smaller screen, realize that it's still touching about the edges, and then I could just fix that one with just some simple. I just say I want a padding of 0 pixels and then 20 pixels. Whenever you set padding to 2 values like this, the first value is going to be for top and bottom, and second value is going to be for right and left. So as you can see here, there's padding on the left, there's padding on the right. That way, for the smaller screen too, it's working just perfectly, and then for the bigger screens too, it's working also just perfectly. So that's what the container I was talking about in the HTML. Guys, if you want to check out that video, I have the link in the description, or you could just hit the just click on the card at the top here and go and check that video out. So for now, I'm not going to do the nav bar. I'm just going to go straight to my section banner. The nav bar is we're going to have a dedicated video, but this is the video for that one. So I'm going to talk about the very home page here. Alright, so let's just go, and I'm going to say control/, and I'm going to have all, I'm going to say section banner. Alright, let's end. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have what? I'm going to call it section banner. And this is what we call a class selector. As you can see in here, in my section banner, I have it what? A class of what? Section banner. So to be able to start this particular div, which has the class of section banner, all I have to do is just call that section with what? A dot followed by what? Section what? Banner. And then I can just say with that I want it to have a weight of what? 100%. And then I want a height also of what? 100%. And then finally, when I save that, let me see where it is. The moment I save that, let me just take away the height here. Realize that there's about was close by. When I just commented this one out, it now has a weight of what? 100%. As you can see, it's what? 100% of what? Of the weight. And then next thing we are going to do is we're going to say background image. Alright, and we're going to have a background image. We're going to use what we call the URL just to take us to where the image is. I'm going to say / that's in our current directory, and I'll say assets, and then we're going to say image1.jpg, and let's save that. So as you can see, the image is there, alright, but the image is actually a very big image, far bigger than the what we have here. So it's actually looking this ugly, but we can just correct all of that by using a few lines of codes. I'll just call and I say background size. So I want the size of the image to cover the width and the height of the area. Okay, I'll just say cover, and voila. Let me see. As you can see, just like in here, that notice. So now the image is covering what? The size of the home page. If I come on a bigger screen, you see it even looks better here. As you can see, that's the whole image here. It has been squeezed to cover the whole size of the image. It's quite great. And the next thing I'm going to do, I want it to be centered in the middle. I want the image to be centered. I want to say background position of center. And yeah, so that way the image is centered in the middle. But I should go to a bigger screen like here. If I go to a bigger screen like here, the image is neatly centered. Okay, now the next thing we are going to do is realize that the color of the text is not supposed to be black. So I just say color. For the font color, I just say color, and then I'll use white. We just say FFF, that's white, and then the text looks okay as of now. Now as you can see from the very main one here, we have some dark tone at the back. Just make the text very readable and to draw attention toward the text, not the image at the background. And there are so many ways of doing this. I'm going to teach you all the 2 ways. I'm going to use one way here, and I'm going to use another way when we come to our newsletter here. So let's look at the very first way we can do this. We're going to use what we call gradient. Now when you have background image there, it can also take another parameter, and the parameter is going to be linear gradient. Put a comma here. And then the linear gradient, I'm going to say it should move to what? Right. It should move to the right bottom. That is the direction of the gradient. I will explain more And let me just say you can have two colors. So let me just say for now red, and let me just say orange, and let me save that. Let's go back here, and then as you can see that the gradient has what taken over even in the first. So you can see the gradient from what the top moving towards the right bottom corner here, from red to what orange, and that's the very first way you can do using what this. But that's what we want. It doesn't look like the main thing in any way. So how do you get that one done? Okay guys, so this is how you're going to do. You're going to change the color from red to black, so that's 000 here, and then with VS Code, if you just hover on it, it gives you this color, this one here. Then I can have what this for the opacity, to just change how opaque it is. So I want opacity of maybe 0.85 like this. Yeah, I can actually just, now it has given what my RGB. So this red, green, and then blue, and then the opacity, the 8 for the opacity. So I'll just change this all to what, let me just say 9, save it, and as you can see, from black all the way to what orange, and the black is a bit transparent because of the opacity we set on it. Alright, so we can just come back here the same way and just change this one to also black, and then we hover on it, get this, and change the opacity to somewhere like, yeah, there, and then save it. As you can see, now we have that black overlay on the background, and then it's so great, guys. I know you and I know, we all know that is what is very great. And then that's what cool and kind and neat and sweet, and that's what you get. So guys, if you're getting any value from this video, please make sure to hit the like button just to help the algorithm one way or the other. And let's continue with what we can do next. Okay, now if you look at the very main one here, whenever I'm scrolling, realize that the image does not move on the background. It's only the text that moves over it, right? Unlike the one we have here, where when I'm moving, the image moves, and then the text also moves. We want to fix that problem. It's not actually a problem, but it's actually that makes the site a little bit cooler. And all we can do that is just only one line of code. I'm just going to say background attachment. As you can see, they are giving me my suggestion already, but and yes, say what fixed. I want the background to what fixed. Whenever I do that, now if I'm scrolling, the image at the top doesn't move. It just stays what at one place, and then we have that one done too. Guys, I know that's cool and that's great. You are impressed as I am. So the next thing we are going to do is we're going to just say probably text align center, text align center. Okay, now how can we bring all this text, whatever we have here, in the middle here, just like we have on the home page? It's what in the middle, and that's what we want to see. Alright, how can we do that? Someone said just put padding at the top here. Yeah, that could work, but it's not going to work in this case. So before that, we're going to use a very simple trick here. Okay, as you can see, when we came to the very section banner here, there are so many ways of doing this, but we want to learn a lot of things in this series. So we're going to use one of the very simple steps here. Another one, we're going to do another step, just like that. So we're going to use what we call flex to align that thing to the middle neatly here. So if I just come here and I should say display of what flex, nothing happens. I know nothing happens, but the moment I say align items center, boom, something just happened. That's what actually move the item toward the center of this, and that's what this. When you see display flex, now it's what we're trying to use flex box here. When I say align items, it's going to align items what on the horizontal, on the vertical axis, not axis, whatever we have here. So you can see it has what align what in the center here, as you can see here. And if I just say, let me go to a bigger screen, that way you see what's actually happening. So that's what align in the center here neatly, and then that's cool. Actually solve the problem, having it centered neatly here. But that's not all we want. We want it to want to just say justify what content also center. That way on this axis too, that's the horizontal, so we're going to what align neatly out in the center. But if you go to the bigger screen, it looks actually ugly here. You can see all the code stretching from this way all the way to this way, and that's what we want. we want it to be like the very main one here, where it's actually in the middle bit like this. So how can we get that one done? So let's look at this one, and let's look at what this one. This, you can see that the text here is actually big, bold, and it's speaking for itself. It doesn't really want to tell that that's the main. So let's just say dot section banner, and let's say our dot heading main. That's the heading main, and I'm going to say font size of probably 50 pixels. Let's save that. Wow, let me see. Yeah, it's actually growing bigger. And then let's say margin bottom. For margin at the bottom part, let me just say something like this, 10 pixels. Yeah, for it to push up a little bit. And then I want the same thing here. I want dot section banner, and I want to have my P, and I want to say font. Don't want to say font. Also, I want to say margin bottom of like probably 30 pixels, and then I want a padding of 0 pixels on the top and bottom, and then 30 pixels on the left and right. When I save that, as you can see, it's already there like that. But for the bigger screen, nothing is working. Alright guys, so as you can see here, this is neatly done like this. Let me just go back to my text editor here, and then go back to my index.html, probably somewhere around here. Let me put a line break, BR, something like that. Save it, and let's see what happens to the very first one here. Yeah, now there's a line break somewhere, it's making it look a bit neat, close to this one here. As you can see, there's some difference. There's a little difference here, as in the darkness of the background. I think this one is a bit lighter and more visible than compared to this particular one here, where the text is a thing that you can actually get your eye mainly on. So the next thing we're going to start is our button that we have here. As you can see, now this button, one thing I could just go ahead and just say section banner B and then go my way. But I want these things to be reusable. That means maybe probably other pages you could use the same button there. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to start them just like so that they can become reusable assets. Alright guys, I hope you bear with me, and then let's get through with that one. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to say button. I'm going to call this one main, and I'm going to say dot btn main, because that's the first I'm going to say display of inline block. I'll explain that later. I'm going to say padding of 15 pixels on the top and bottom, and then 30 pixels on the left and right to give you that rectangular shape. And I'm going to say a background color of orange. Save that, and it's already there. And then I want the color to be white, so FFF. And then I want the border radius. The border radius is a curve around the border, so let me just say border radius of probably 3 pixels. So as you can see, just around the curve, there's some small curves there. That's the border radius. And the next thing I'm going to say is whenever we hover on this button, so copy this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Whenever we hover, or this button is focused on, I want the color to be orange. I want the background color. I want the background color to be white, and then I want a border of 2 pixels solid, and then the border should be also orange, just like the text color. And let's see. So when I hover on it, okay, let me add transition here. The transition gives that kind of animation thing. So 0.4, that's just 4 seconds. No, 0.4 seconds. So that's it. As you can see that whenever I hover on it, there's a movement going down here, because anything at the top here, because when I hover, the border is now being created, and that's the thing that's causing that movement, because the border is now appearing. It's more moving things around, and we don't want that. And we can fix that by just putting a border here of also 2 pixels, solid, alright, but we want it to be transparent, that way it's not visible. Now the border is there. When I hover, the border is not showing, and there is no movement. Guys, are you seeing that? And that's it all for the section banner here. As you can compare it to this one here. I don't know what the section banner. Let's go straight into the about tab. But before that, let's start our neat section secondary heading here. So that's also going to be a reusable component. Let me come somewhere here and just say secondary heading, and then I will say dot secondary. Now I named it heading secondary. So the text align should be center. Let me see that. Where is the main one? Text align should be center. Nothing is happening. I want the color to be some dark color, that's a dark gray. So I want 8F, 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 EF. Hey, 8, yes. Save that. I think heading secondary. Let me check. What did I use? I used what? Secondary heading rather. Secondary heading. Save that. Text align center. As you can see, it's already taking effect there. And then I want the font size to be something like 30 pixels. And I also want position relative. And I want display of inline block. I'm wondering why I'm even changing that to display of inline block. Save that, and then we can see here. Alright. Now I'm going to show you why I'm using display of inline. Before that, let me just comment that one out, and let's get to the next thing. Now this little orange thing you're seeing under here is a pseudo class. Okay, the pseudo class I won't really explain that, but we're going to go down here and I'll just say dot secondary heading, and I'm going to say before. This is what we call the pseudo class. Now the pseudo element. Now pseudo class could be hover, focus, check. All those things are what we call pseudo class. But pseudo elements are you use the double colon here, and then these things are more or less. I'll have a whole video explaining this thing, but for now let's just take it like this how it is. And before you can use pseudo element, first you have to set the content to probably nothing. So just leave something like that, just leave empty, because without the pseudo you can never use what the pseudo element. And let me just say I want a weight of 50 pixels. For now you can just go along. Later I'm going to explain vividly in another video. For now I don't want to confuse you, just say height of 4 pixels, background color of orange, and then position absolute, and then I want, let me save that. Let me save that, and then as you can see, that's the orange thing at the top there. But that's not what we want to do. What bottom of negative is 0 pixels, sorry, and then the left of what 10 pixels. Save that, and then as you can see now, because it's not let me make it bigger. I don't know if it's making a difference. Let me go to another one. Now there's what we offer. As you can see here, there's it. It's actually negative. It's actually what 10 pixels from the left here, and then 0 pixels from the bottom. But that's not what we want. Okay, we want to be what 10 pixels away from the thing itself here. Now let me just go back here and just set background color to red, the experimental color. Where is it? And save it. Yeah, that's why it's not showing. Now this is it. Now whenever I make a big screen, you can see that the red is what spread on the whole line, or the whole width of the page. That's not it. That's because it's display to block takes the whole line, or the whole, let me just, I'll see the whole line. When anything is set to display block, it's going to take the whole line. As you can see, the paragraphs are all block elements, and that's why they're taking the whole line. But inline block does not do that. Inline objects take only the width of the item itself. So whenever I just come in and say display of inline block, it's going to be what the width is going to be the width of the item itself, and not the whole line here. So in this case, when I come back to the whole full screen, as you can see, like this in here, it's neatly like this. All right, and then as I want to top it, you can actually see what the inline block has just done. There's more to inline block, but for now, let's just take that what inline block does for us. And then with that, it's going to make everything just look perfect. Let me take away the back color of red from it. Save it, and as you can see, we've started our thing neatly. We don't have a problem with it. We didn't no one get issues. So let's go back. Section about. So this section banner probably I want somewhere around here. So that section about, that's the selector for that, and I'll say text align of center. Save it. So section about, I want to give it a text align of center. Oh, nothing is happening. Let me see. Let me just give it a background of red. Nothing is happening. Probably some spelling mistake. Everything right here. How about here? Everything also right here. So then what could, okay, I knew it. There's a spelling mistake here. So this class, not that one. So Control S, and then now the text style has been applied. Let me take away the background color of red for now. And I realized something. Let me just take this one off. I realized that it was text align left here because of the inline block. But the very moment I changed this to text align center, that become what centered. And that's another thing about inline elements. They are going to be aligned left or right or center just based on the parent element. Now because the parent element is saying text align or center, it has been aligned into the center, and that's great. You could never get that one anywhere. And I want to say also, I want to give this a padding of 70 pixels on the top and bottom, and then 0 from the left. I didn't set my color. So let me save that. Just to give us some padding from the top here. And then also at the bottom there should be some padding, some form of padding. And the next thing I'm going to say dot about container. And I want to say display of, I'm going to use grade here, display grade. And then when I say display grade, I could just say grade template columns, and I'll say 1FR, and I'll save that. Now 1FR means that I want them to divide the whole screen into two portions, 1 year, 1 year. If I should go right now, I should go to inspect right now. I should select my about container. As you can see, the moment I selected it, you can see that there was some lines somewhere showing the grade. As you can see here, let me read it. The about container showing you that the screen has been divided into two, and that's what the grade does. I'll have a video very soon in the future. I will talk more about CSS grade. But for now, what it says that grade template columns is telling us that the columns, how many columns should the container have? And I'm saying 1FR. FR stands for fraction units. Okay, so whichever 1FR, that means 2 FRs, the space should be divided into two. 1 here, 1 here. That's the meaning of the 1FR. If I should use 1FR, 2FR, and see, you realize that the first one is smaller, the second one is bigger. That means 1 here, divide the whole screen into 3, apportion 2 to the one on the right and 1 to the one on the left. But that's what we want to have it 1FR. And let me just save that. Now this is actually for desktop. I will have some media queries just to make them responsive very, very soon. I don't want to write the response. I don't want to start writing the responsive code here. I'll do that very soon, because I'll explain a little more about media queries very soon in the future. And the next thing I want to have is I want to have a grid gap. Grid gap means the space between the grid. So I want to have 30 pixels. When I save that, you can see that there's now a new space in between the two CSS things. So that's what a grid gap does. And finally, I want text align of center. I don't know. Okay. Now let me go to the bigger screen here, because actually for here. Now what you can see here is that even though everything is alright, you can see that the text has been placed at the top here, and the images here. We don't want that. We want it to be cool and kind. Look at the main one here. As you can see, the main one here, the image is here, and the text is here, and then the text is somewhere in the middle here. And then what we can do with that one is we could just say align items center. When I save that, as you can see, the things that was neatly aligned was in the center here. Guys, this is great, this is cool. I know what you're thinking, and it's perfect. All right, so that's probably that. Let's not worry about the mobile view for now. I'll come back and make a video. I'll come back with the next video where we'll talk about the responsiveness very soon. Now let's come back here. You can see that the button here is different from the button. And this is the button here, this is the button here, and then the button we have here is probably not styled. So let's look at how we can style this particular button here. So as usual, I'll come back under here and have whatever I have here, Control C, and just put it a Control V and call this button secondary, and then .btn secondary. I hope that's the class we give to it. And I'm going to say display as usual of inline block. I want to say a padding of also 15 pixels on the top and bottom, and then 30 pixels on the left and right. And I want to give it a background color of white, which automatically is there that way, I'm guessing. And then I want to give it a color of our dark gray. That's the 8F. Thank you, VS Code. And save that. Nothing happens, but the color, as you can see, has changed over there. And next we want to do this. We want to say let's give it what we call box shadow. The box shadow should be, now the box shadow takes a lot of parameters. The very first parameter is going to be for the x. So let me just say 0 pixels on the x-axis. Then I want to say 5 pixels on the y-axis, 10 pixels for the blur. Let me say 0 pixels for the spread, 0 pixels for the spread, and then the color. So let's just use black for now, black for the color, and let me just save it. As you can see, everything is what neat and kindly. If you play around with the shadow, you have a lot of things, like, trust me. Let me bring the shadow all the way to probably 0 point somewhere 5 for the opacity, and let me save it. You get that subtle shadow here. We'll have more videos in the future. We'll play around with the shadow. So this is for the x, how the shadow spread on the x. This for the y. This for how blurred the shadow should be. If you have less value, probably something like 1 pixel, it's going to be very well thick. As you can see, there's no blur on the shadow. So just having 10 will blur the shadow around, and then that's cool. You have to play along with these things. Play around just to get them exactly on point. And the next thing I'm going to have is I'm going to have position of relative, and I'm going to say border radius of probably 3 pixels or so, and let's save that. And then now that's it. It's nothing close. I have a very video on how to make even this button, right? I have the link at the top corner, the card here. You can click on it and go and check out that video. It's cool. Now let's continue. Whenever we hover, I want the pseudo elements will move up here. Please watch that video. I've really explained into details, so I won't have to explain a lot in this particular video. So let me just create the pseudo element. So .btn secondary. You could use before, you could use after, whichever one works for you. I'll say content to nothing. And I want to say weight of 100%, height of also 100%, and then I want the background color of orange. Save it. I think it's happening. I want to say position. I want to position it towards absolute, and then it should be 0% from the top. What am I writing? Top of 0% and left of what? 0%. And let's save that, and as you can see, it's here. Now it's covering the writing. That's the read more. As it's covering, if you look at the very first one here, and I hover, you can still see the word the read more at the back here. Unlike here that the read more has what has been hitting. And this is what we're going to do. What we call now, take a look at something. This is what we're going to call what we use what we call Z index. If I say Z index, or probably Z index just shows stack. Okay, when you say stack, which one is on top of which one? It's trying to show which one appears what on top of what of which one. So if I say Z index of -1 for this one here, showing it is below, and give a Z index of probably 1 to make this one is above, it's actually going to work. Now I can see that the test is what above what the pseudo element. Pseudo element is what is behind or beneath what this one here, and that's cool, guys. But that's not what we want to have the pseudo element 100. The top should be what 100% exactly. That way it's from what the top this way, and whenever we hover dot btn secondary, whenever we hover or whenever we focus, whenever we focus on this one, we want the btn. Now guys, pay attention, this is a new selector. It's a very cool selector here, so I'm going to press alt and select both sides here. Now whenever we hover on the button, we want to select the pseudo element and style it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Dot btn and then hover, then I'm going to say this and just say before this. Let me show something. Whenever let me just say background color of red. Save. Now whenever I hover, what happens? Realize that the pseudo element becomes red, as you can see the red in here. Okay, that's the selector here to select our pseudo element. So whenever we hover on the button, we want to select the pseudo element, and this is how it is written in CSS. Actually, I don't want the background to be red. I want it to move. I want the top to be 0 as we saw earlier on. And let me give a transition here for the animation. Transition of 0.4 seconds. Save it, and then boom. Whenever I hover, voila, it moves to the top. It moves to the top. The video I was talking about actually really explains everything in detail. Let me just give it an overflow. That's why I'm not taking my time to explain everything here. Overflow of hidden, and let me save that. Whenever I hover, it just comes up neatly. And one more thing, dot btn secondary hover from btn secondary focus. I want the color to be white. There's two processes. That's why it looks that way. Then you say transition 0.4 seconds, save that, and then that's it. And then one more thing too, you realize that whenever we hover, there's a movement. If you look at the very main one here, there's a movement downwards just to give it that cool effect. And we can just use that. What we have to do, you have to move the button. So when we hover on the button, we want to say it should transform for movement. All right, transform, and then we want it to translate. Translate is what moves it. Okay, so we will say translate, and it takes two parameters. It takes x and it takes what y values. X for the horizontal and y for the vertical. We want to move it on the what? On the y. So 0 for the x. Put a comma. And let me just say I want to move downwards. So just say 5 pixels, and then and let's save that. Whenever I hover, oh, the transition is not working. Here 0.4 seconds. Sorry, that's it. Whenever it moves downwards neatly, I think 5 is too much. I'll make it 7. Alright, whenever that's the cool animation you have there. So that's it for the home page and the about page. So thank you guys for sticking to the very end where we start our amazing website almost to the end. And guys, one more thing, let's go back to the very first main one here, where you can see that there's the button is already giving us an indication down here. So let me do that. All I can do is that the top here shouldn't be 100%, it should be probably 90. Save it and let's come back and let's take a look. So you see, so that already showing whenever you hover, it just comes up there, and then that's cool. Thank you guys for sticking to the very end of this particular series. Not this series, I mean this video where we start the home page here and the about page. I'm going to catch you in the next video where we're going to just go straight to the what we offer here, add the newsletter, and another video for the footer, and then finally for the navigation, and you're done. Thank you so much, and I'm going to catch you in the next